Hey guys, tonight we're traveling back in time to the age of stone, faith, and silence. A place where every wall has a heartbeat and every echo tells a story. So relax, close your eyes, and let's begin. Look at any medieval castle today and you see strength, maybe a whisper of romance in the stone. But what you don't see is the pain beneath it, the hands that cracked, the backs that bent, the lives spent shaping something meant to outlive them all. Tonight we step into that unseen world. Before you get too comfortable, make sure your blanket's tucked around you. Get cozy, you'll need it. We're going back to the 13th century, to the edge of a muddy construction site where a castle is slowly rising stone by stone. It's still dark when your eyes open. For a moment, you can't remember where you are. Then the ache in your shoulders reminds you, on the plank floor of the workers' barracks. Around you, 100 men sleep shoulder to shoulder, wrapped in rags that barely pass for blankets. The air is thick with the smell of unwashed bodies, damp wool, and the faint, smoky scent of last night's dying fire. You're William, a journeyman mason, somewhere between apprentice and master. Not a common laborer, but not yet a man of rank either. 7 years of apprenticeship behind you, and maybe a lifetime of stone ahead. Through the gaps in the wooden walls, you see the faintest blue hint of dawn. Good. That means you still have a few minutes before the shouting starts. You rub your hands, raw and blistered, and flex your stiff fingers. They'll need to work again soon, whether they're ready or not. Then the door creaks open with a blast of freezing air. Up, up, all of you, bellows a voice from outside. It's Geoffrey, the foreman's assistant. Master Who wants every man at the site before sunrise. The room groans awake. Beside you, your friend Thomas mutters, "The bloody castle's taken 3 years already. Another hour won't make it sprout wings." You pull on your wool tunic, stiff with dried sweat and mortar dust. Your boots are still damp from yesterday's mud. Breakfast is quick, a chunk of black bread, a swallow of weak ale. It's enough to keep you upright, and that's all that matters. Outside, the cold cuts through everything. The sky lightens from charcoal to steel gray as you trudge toward the worksite. Even in the dim morning light, the castle in the making is enormous, a rising wall of stone, encircled by scaffolding and mud. You've seen cathedrals in cities, but this is different. This is raw, brutal. Hundreds of men swarm across the site, diggers, haulers, carpenters, masons, each lost in the endless rhythm of labor. The sound is constant, the ringing of hammers, the creak of pulleys, the grunt of men straining under impossible loads. At the center of it all stands Master Hu, the master mason, a man of 50, broad-shouldered, gray-bearded, eyes sharp as chisels. You've heard the others say he can build a castle in his mind before a single stone is laid. You almost believe it. William, his voice carries above the noise. You hurry over, trying not to limp. "Yes, Master Ho." He's speaking with a stranger, a man in fine clothes, hands soft and clean, the kind that have never lifted anything heavier than a goblet. "This is Lord Robert," says Hu, "the king's representative. He thinks we're taking too long." "Explain why." You blink. Miho nods once. "You've a better way with words than I do." "Go on." You swallow hard, aware of the mud on your boots, the grime on your hands. "My lord, the foundations have to go down nearly 30 feet in some places before we reach solid bedrock. It takes time. But if we don't build deep, the walls will fail. And deep foundations stop enemy sappers, underminers, from tunneling beneath us in a siege." Lord Robert frowns, but Master Hu says quietly, "We build once. We build right." The Lord nods reluctantly and walks away, muttering about costs. When he's gone, Hugh claps your shoulder hard enough to sting. "Well done, lad. Now back to work. We've got cornerstone layouts to set." You nod, chest tightening with something you can't name. Pride? Maybe. For the first time, you feel seen. The rest of the morning passes in a blur of movement. You're kneeling in the mud, marking foundation lines, when a thought drifts through your mind. How many generations from now will walk these walls? never knowing your name. Around you, the castle hums with purpose. Men shout, ropes groan, and stone grinds against stone. Every sound becomes part of a rhythm older than language itself. By the time the sun burns through the mist, the site feels alive, like some giant creature slowly waking. And you, one small heartbeat inside its chest, can only keep building one stone at a time. The chill hasn't lifted when Geoffrey's voice echoes across the camp again. "Move it, you lazy bastards!" The king himself is coming in a fortnight. That gets everyone's attention. The King Edward, known across the land for his temper and his impatience. 3 years into this project, and the castle is still mostly trenches and half walls. No one wants to be caught unready when royal boots step onto the site. You sling your tool belt over your shoulder and follow the stream of workers toward the foundation trench. The sun is just cresting the hills now, its light glinting off the damp scaffolding. Breath hangs in the cold air. Mud sucks at your boots with every step. The castle is a mountain of motion. Pulleys creak, hammers strike. Oxen drag sledges loaded with rough stone up from the quarry road. A line of men hauls buckets of mortar like ants carrying crumbs. It's chaos, but somehow it works. You pass the carpenter's yard, where men shave thick planks into beams. Beyond them, the blacksmith's forge crackles and spits, showering sparks into the gray morning. The smell of smoke, sweat, and stone dust blends into something strangely steadying. You could almost call it home. At the main pit, Master Ho is already there, standing like a statue carved from the same rock he commands. He's arguing with the crane crew, his voice low but sharp enough to cut granite. Beside him, you spot Thomas yawning and scratching his beard. "Morning," you mutter, he grins. Morning feels more like punishment. You smirk, then get to work. Today's job, laying out the cornerstone grid for the Great Hall. Precision work. Every inch matters. If the foundations are crooked, the whole wall will lean, and a lean means death sooner or later. Who glances your way, checking your measurements? His eyes flick from your chalk line to the leveling rod. He nods once. Good. You've got the feel for it now. That small nod feels like gold. Hours pass in steady rhythm. The thump of wooden mallets, the scrape of iron chisels, the heavy clack of stones settling into place. The castle takes shape beneath your hands, slowly, deliberately, like a living thing growing from the earth itself. Then the rhythm breaks, a shout, followed by another. Then the sound no mason ever wants to hear, stone cracking. You look up to see a cloud of dust bloom from the eastern trench. Men are running. Others are yelling. Collapse, someone screams. Your stomach turns cold. That trench was solid yesterday, or so everyone thought. You drop your tools and sprint. By the time you reach it, the scene is chaos. A section of the 30-foot wall has caved in, burying several men under tons of wet clay and rubble. Others claw at the debris with bare hands, shouting names. Careful, Master Ho bellows. If anyone's alive under there, don't stab them with a shovel. You join the line of diggers. Mud coats your arms, your face, your hair. The earth is heavy, every handful sticking like glue. You dig until your fingers bleed. Time stops meaning anything. It's just breath and movement and mud. Then, someone shouts, "Here, I've got a hand." The world narrows to that one spot. You dig faster. Beneath the soil, a pale wrist twitches. The man's still alive. It's Francis, one of the trench workers. A fallen beam has left just enough space for him to breathe. You grab his shoulders as others clear the dirt. When he's finally free, he gasps like a man dragged from the sea. His legs are shattered, but he's breathing. Alive, not everyone is. 2 more bodies are pulled out later, crushed, unrecognizable. The air grows still as the last spade of dirt falls. No one speaks. The only sound is the low crackle of the priest's voice as he murmurs prayers for the dead. Work stops for the day. Even the king's schedule means nothing now. That night, you sit near the fire with Thomas and a few others, sharing a jug of all that tastes like ash. No one laughs, no one sings. Master Hu joins you after a long while. His face looks carved from sorrow. "We lost 2 men and saved one," he says quietly. "Could have been worse." He takes a long drink, then stares into the fire. This is the part they don't teach you as an apprentice. The lives it costs to build something that lasts. You nod, unsure what to say. "I've been watching you," he continues. "You've got the eye for stone. You see the shapes inside it. Not everyone can." The firelight flickers across his face, making him look both older and stronger, all at once. "Thank you, Master. I'm getting old," he says, his voice soft. "My eyes aren't what they were. I'll need someone to check my work soon. Double my mistakes before they happen. Your heart skips. I'd be honored." He chuckles faintly. "Don't be honored yet. It means twice the work and none of the credit." A pause. "But it also means you'll learn what only masters know." When he walks away, you're left staring at the fire, listening to the wood pop and hiss. The faces of the dead hover behind your eyes. Tomorrow, the digging begins again. The stones must rise. The castle will stand, no matter the cost. Dawn creeps in pale and slow, washing the muddy camp in gray light. The rain from last night has turned everything to sludge. You step outside, boots squelching, breath fogging in the cold. Around you, the workers move like ghosts, silent, hollow-eyed from the day before. The eastern trench, where 2 men died, still smells of damp earth and grief. Wooden beams now brace the walls, driven deep to stop another collapse. You stand at the edge beside Master Ho. His expression is unreadable. "The king wants it deeper," he says, not looking at you. You blink deeper. "We're already down 30 feet in places." He spits into the mud. "King's orders. Says the French have new undermining tricks. Wants bedrock everywhere." A murmur passes through the men nearby. Deeper means danger. Everyone knows it. But no one speaks out loud. What the king wants, Gu adds grimly, the king gets. He turns to you. "William, I'm putting you in charge of this section. Choose 20 men. Shore it up as you go. Solid oak bracing every 3 feet. No exceptions." The words hit like a hammer. Responsibility and risk. One mistake could bury them all. But you meet his eyes and nod. "Yes, Master Ho." Thomas settles up as Hu walks away. "Congratulations," he mutters. "You've just been promoted to the most dangerous job on site." "Then we'll do it right," you say, even though your stomach is a knot of dread. Picking the team takes most of the morning. You need the right balance, strong men, careful men, ones who can smell danger before it happens. Among them is Jax, a burly Frenchman with a beard like a bear's mane. He's worked foundations for 20 years and has a way of speaking that makes even Master Hu listen. "We use triangular bracing," Jax suggests. "Stronger than square. Spreads weight better." You nod. "Show the carpenters. We'll build it your way." By midday, you're 30 feet underground again. The air down here is thick, heavy with the scent of wet clay. The only light comes from flickering torches and the gray circle of sky far above. Every sound feels close: shovels scraping, men grunting, wood creaking under the weight of the earth. The bracing groans like something alive. You keep your eyes on the walls, watching for cracks. Hit something, someone calls. You hurry toward the voice. A laborer points to a patch of white in the mud. At first, you think it's stone. Then you see the curve, the hollow sockets. A skull. The man crosses himself. "Bad luck, sir. The dead shouldn't be disturbed." Jack shrugs. "Old burial, maybe Roman." You sigh. Keep digging. Carefully. More bones emerge, a ribcage, a hand, still curled as if gripping something. Something glints green among the dirt. You reach in and pull out a corroded copper armband, ancient and beautiful beneath the grime. The men murmur. "Worth something?" That one whispers. "We could sell it. Split the money." You hesitate for a heartbeat. It would feed a family for months. But then you slip it into your pouch. It goes to Master Ho. Found on the king's land, it belongs to him. Disappointment ripples through the crew. But rules are rules. When you hand it to Hugh later, he turns it in his hands, eyes thoughtful. "Roman, most likely. Good metal. You did right, William. Most would have kept it." You shrug. "Wouldn't sit right." He smiles faintly. No, it wouldn't. You've got a conscience, dangerous thing for a builder. Keep it anyway. He tucks the relic into his own pouch. I chose well with you. The praise warms more than the sun ever could. By afternoon, the real enemy shows itself, water. It seeps in from the clay walls, slow at first, then faster, pooling around your boots. Before long, your knee, deep in freezing, muddy water. Buckets, you shout, chain line! 10 men, they form a line up the trench wall, passing full buckets hand to hand. The rhythm becomes desperate, endless. Fill, lift, dump. Fill, lift, dump. The water never stops. Sir, a boy yells suddenly. The bracing, it's shifting, you spin. One of the support beams trembles under the flow of water, the mud beneath it washing away. Everyone out, you roar. Now the men scramble for the ladders, splashing, slipping, cursing. Jack stays behind, hammer in hand. I can fix it. Hold it steady. Don't be mad. You shout. It's not worth. But he's already wading toward the brace. You plant your shoulder against the beam, taking its weight as he drives a new post into the ground. The wood creaks, moans like a dying beast. Almost Jack's grunts. Then you feel it, the deep, shifting rumble beneath your feet. Jack's, now he swings once more hard. Got it, you grab him by the collar and run. The earth behind you gives a long, tearing groan and collapses. Mud and water surge forward in a roaring wave. It hits you like a battering ram, knocking you off your feet. You cling to the ladder, hauling yourself upward with everything you have. Jax is right behind you until a cry. You turn, his leg is caught between two rungs. Water rises fast, swallowing him. Without thinking, you dive back down, grabbing his tunic and pulling with all your strength. The ladder wrenches free from the wall just as you haul him out. Both of you crash onto solid ground, coughing and gasping. Jack starts laughing, a wild, breathless sound. You owe me a drink, you manage between breaths. I owe you my life, he says, suddenly serious. Master Ho finds you both caked in mud, looking like creatures dug from the earth. What happened? He demands. You tell him. He listens without interrupting, then sighs. How much did we lose? The eastern third collapsed. The rest is solid. We can rebuild. Not today. Pump it out. We'll start again tomorrow. As he turns to leave, you hesitate. Is it worth it, master? Going deeper. Every day it's more danger. He stops, looks back. You know what they call a castle with weak foundations. You shake your head. A tomb, he says. Everything we build stands on what we do now. If men must die, better it be for something that lasts. You stare down at your hands, muddy, blistered, shaking. The earth seems to hum beneath your feet, whispering of weight and time and sacrifice. That night, you dream of stone walls and rising water, of buried men whose names no one remembers. And in the dream, the castle stands, tall and proud, its foundations built on bones. Morning comes wrapped in fog, so thick it hides the world beyond arm's reach. The camp feels muffled, the usual noise of hammers and saws replaced by the soft squelch of boots in mud. You make your way toward the trench, half expecting it to have swallowed itself during the night. It hasn't, but it's close. Half filled with slumped earth and brown water, it looks more like a grave than a foundation. Wooden beams jut from the sides like broken ribs. The men stand around it, silent, waiting. But Master Hu isn't here. That's unusual. The man rises before the sun. Someone finally says, he's in the lodge. The drawing lodge. The small wooden building near the site that's always seemed off, limits, almost sacred. You've only glimpsed it from outside, its plaster floor, its heavy oak door marked with chalk lines and strange symbols. When you step inside, the air is warm, thick with the smell of wood smoke and chalk dust. Master Hu is kneeling on the floor, drawing directly onto the plaster with black charcoal. At full scale, the entire room is his canvas. William. He stands, wiping his hands on his apron, leaving dark streaks. Good, you're early. You glance down at the massive sketch. Before you, perfect arcs, intersecting lines, circles drawn with a precision that defies reason. You're designing. He nods, rethinking. The trench won't hold much longer. If we keep digging, we'll bury half the site. So we'll do what the Romans did. He leads you to a workbench where parchment sheets are spread out, weighed down by smooth stones. The sketches show thick wooden platforms laid over rows of sharpened posts driven into the ground. Grillage, who explains, will drive oak piles deep into the mud, then build a platform over them. It spreads the weight. No more sinking, no more collapses. You study the design, the realization dawning slowly, so we don't have to dig to bedrock. Exactly. He smiles faintly, and you see a spark of pride behind his exhaustion. We let the wood take the strain, not the men. It's brilliant, you whisper. But will the king accept it? He chuckles softly. He'll accept whatever doesn't kill his workers or delay his walls. Besides, this method has stood 1,000 years. The Romans knew a thing or two about permanence. For a long moment, the only sound is the scratching of his charcoal as he refines a line, adjusts a curve. You watch, realizing how much he holds in his head, how the entire castle seems to live behind those gray eyes. Take this to the carpenters, he says, handing you a rolled parchment. They'll start pile driving by noon. Yes, master. You pause at the door, and he adds almost absently, you care about the men, don't you? You turn. I try to. Good. Never lose that. But never forget, compassion without precision kills faster than cruelty. The words stay with you all day. By noon, the new plan is in motion. Teams of men sharpen oak trunks into points and drive them deep into the mud using a massive wooden ram. The ram rises and falls with the rhythm of ropes pulled by 20 men. Each impact echoes across the valley, a deep, resonant thud that you feel in your chest. The work is brutal, but it works. The piles go deep, the ground firms. By evening, the first section of grillage is complete. Thick timbers crisscrossing the surface, like a great wooden raft waiting to carry stone. Master Hu watches from a distance, arms folded. Good, he mutters. Better than I hoped. You grin despite yourself. Maybe now the king won't hang us for slowness. He snorts. The king will find something else to complain about. He always does. 5 days later, Lord Robert returns, not alone this time. With him are several finely dressed nobles, silk cloaks, jeweled belts, soft eyes unused to work. They stop at the edge of the foundation pit, watching as another pile is driven home with a booming crash. Impressive, Lord Robert admits, though it seems crude. All building is crude, my lord, Hu replies evenly. We just make it look graceful afterward. The nobles exchange glances, unsure whether it's a compliment or an insult. Lord Robert gestures toward you. This is the young mason you spoke of. William, Hugh says he's been invaluable. The noble studies you as though appraising a horse. The king brings his own master masons next month. Men from France and Italy. They'll inspect everything. You swallow hard. Foreign masters, trained in guilds that guard their secrets like treasure. Men who see English builders as backward peasants. Hu's expression doesn't change. Let them look, he says. They'll find our foundations hold firm, and their castles sink in swamps. Lord Robert's lips twitch. We shall see. When they leave, you finally let out the breath you've been holding. He's right, though, you say quietly. Those men, they'll laugh at us. Hugh smiles. Let them. Every trick they know, they stole from the Romans, the same Romans whose bones we dug from that trench. I learned from the stones themselves. The walls will speak for us. The next days blur together. The grillage spreads beneath the entire keep like a wooden skeleton. Stone begins to rise upon it, course by course, each block fitting tight as thought. The constant fear of collapse fades, replaced by something new, rhythm. You work from dawn until the stars show, hands blistered, voice hoarse from shouting orders. The men respect you now, not because of rank, but because you listen. You climb down into the muck with them, shoulder the same weight, bleed the same blood. When the last timber vanishes beneath the first course of stone, you feel a strange satisfaction, like watching the world take its first solid breath. At sunrise, the entire site glows gold. The foundations stretch wide and strong, the wooden piles hidden deep below, unseen but vital. Master Hu stands beside you, squinting into the light. Looks good, he says softly. The king will be pleased. You ask, oh, he'll pretend to be unimpressed. That's his way. But he'll understand. He turns toward you, his eyes tired but kind. You've done well, William. Remember this moment. No one will ever see this work again once the walls rise. But without it, the castle would fall. The strongest parts of any building are the ones no one ever notices. You look out across the site, the piles buried, the mud gone still, and you finally understand. Every stone that will stand above this ground rests on the silent labor below. Every triumph is built on something invisible, just like the men who make it. The king's visit is a blur of banners and tension. One morning, the valley fills with the distant thunder of hooves. The royal party arrives in a swirl of color, silk, steel, and the flutter of pennants bright against the gray sky. Every man on the site straightens as if the king's gaze could pierce through wood and stone alike. King Edward himself is smaller than you imagined, but the air bends around him. His cloak whips in the wind as he surveys the foundations, lips pressed in that thin royal line that means either approval or execution. Master Hu bows low, his back creaking like an old beam. Your Majesty, the foundation of the keep is complete. The first course rises tomorrow. The king steps to the edge of the pit, peering down at the solid layers of stone resting on the buried oak. This is your innovation, Ho. Yes, sire, oak piles and a wooden grillage. Faster, stronger, safer. A method proven in Rome and France alike. The king grunts, safer, perhaps. But will it last? It will outlive us all, Hu says simply. The king looks past him at you. And who's this young man who stares like I'm made of marble? You stiffen, heat rushing to your face. William, your Majesty, a mason under Master Hu. Hu corrects him gently. My assistant, sire. He led much of the foundation work. The king studies you, eyes sharp. How old are you? 27, sire. You look younger, he smirks. Good. Youth builds what age only dreams. Carry on, then. And just like that, the king moves on, leaving a trail of nervous laughter and relieved exhalations in his wake. When the royal entourage disappears over the hill, Master Hu lets out a long, slow sigh. Well, he says, we're not dead. I'll call that a success. The men laugh. For the first time in weeks, it feels like the whole site exhales with them. That night, Hu orders extra ale for everyone. The fires burn late, the songs run louder than the hammers ever did, and for once, the valley sounds like life, not labor. To solid foundations, Hu toasts. To work that endures, you lift your cup. The all taste of earth and smoke, and something like victory. The next morning dawns crisp and clear. With the foundations complete, everything changes. The site no longer crawls with diggers and mud haulers. Now it hums with stonecutters, carpenters, blacksmiths, rope makers, and masons, craftsmen instead of laborers. Master Hu stands before a gathering of new arrivals, men whose hands are scarred with skill, whose tools gleam like extensions of their own arms. You stand beside him, feeling small again. These, Hu says, are your brothers in the craft. They'll carve the stones, shape the arches, and raise the walls that will be seen for miles. William will oversee coordination. A ripple of surprise runs through the group. You're young, too young, by their standards, to be directing seasoned stonemasons. But Ho's word is law here. This is Edgar, Hu says, pointing to a tall, spare man with precise movements. He leads the Freemasons, decorative work, window tracery, fine carving. This is Robert, head of the rough masons. He'll build the walls. And Simon, master of the quarrymen, the man who gives us our stone. Each nods stiffly. You return the gesture, aware of their measuring eyes. You'll learn from each of them, Ho adds. You'll be my eyes when I can't be everywhere at once. It's both an honor and a sentence. You can feel it in the way the others look at you, respect mixed with challenge. In the days that follow, you begin to understand just how vast this operation truly is. The castle isn't just stone, it's a living city, its own society. At the bottom are the unskilled laborers, peasants fulfilling their yearly duty to the crown. They dig trenches, haul buckets, move scaffolding, and get paid in coin barely worth the bread it buys. Above them are the semi-skilled mortar mixers, scaffold builders, tool sharpeners. They eat better, sleep under roofs, sometimes even sing. Then come the true craftsmen, the masons, carpenters, and blacksmiths. Men who can shape the world with their hands and are paid accordingly. And at the top alone stands Master Ho, the architect of it all. You move between these worlds daily, from the muddy pit to the master's lodge, from the stinking barracks to the quiet sanctum, where Ho's drawings bloom like living maps. You see how resentment brews in the spaces between. The masons eat meat, one mortar, mixer grumbles when you pass by. We get gruel. Later that same day, a mason complains the laborers are slow, lazy. I could do twice their work alone. Everyone thinks someone else has it easier. You're caught in the middle, too close to the workers to be one of the masters, too trusted by Ho to be one of the men. It's a lonely place to stand. One afternoon, as the walls of the outer curtain begin to rise, you spot a group of laborers struggling with a massive oak beam meant for the scaffolding. It wobbles dangerously as they lift it, threatening to crush them all. Hold it steady, you shout, rushing forward. Together you heave the beam into its slot, the wood thudding into place. The men stare at you surprised. Most overseers don't touch the work. Thanks, says a red-haired youth, breathless. Most masters would just yell. I'm not a master, you say, smiling. And I was hauling beams like this last month. He grins, name's what? Been here 2 months. Hoping to learn a trade. But all I do is carry wood. You study him, thin, wary, alert eyes. Come see me tomorrow. I'll get you on the mortar team. His face lights up like sunrise. Truly, everyone starts somewhere. The next morning, true to your word, you speak to the mortar foreman and get Watt transferred. It's a small thing, but as you watch him mixing lime and sand with genuine pride, something in you shifts. Maybe Ho's right. The best foundations aren't just made of stone. They're made of people. Weeks pass. The walls grow, gray bones of the castle emerging from the earth. The site hums with constant motion. Dust coats everything. Even the air tastes like stone. One evening, as the sun bleeds gold across the valley, you climb a half-built wall and look out over the site. Hundreds of men move below like a living tide, each one a heartbeat in this immense, impossible machine. And you think for the first time, I'm part of something that will last longer than I will. The thought fills you with quiet wonder, and just beneath that, fear. Because permanence demands payment, and you've already seen how high the price can be. Summer brings light that stretches forever, but heat that breaks men. The air at the site shimmers above the stone, dust floats in golden haze like the breath of the castle itself. The sound of chisels and hammers becomes a kind of music, steady, hypnotic, relentless. By now, the lower walls of the curtain are complete, rising shoulder high. Scaffolding spirals around them, a web of timber held together by pegs and rope. Above it all, the carpenters climb like spiders, setting platforms, beams, and pulley arms for the next stage of lifting. Among them is Jacob. You've known him since the early days, broad-shouldered, always quick with a laugh, and always singing bawdy songs that make the apprentices blush. He's expecting his first child soon. Every evening, he talks about it by the fire, describing a life that sounds simple and warm, a cottage by the river, a bit of land, a roof that doesn't leak. You like Jacob, everyone does. Master Ho, however, does not trust him with heights. Too careless, he says one morning, watching Jacob straddle a beam 20 feet up. Too confident. Confidence kills faster than cowardice. You laugh lightly. He's steady enough. Ho fixes you with a sharp look. You said that about the trench. You fall silent. The day moves forward in shimmering waves of heat. At midday, you climb the scaffolding yourself, checking that the new platforms are level. From here, the valley spreads out like a painting, stone walls coiling like gray snakes, carts crawling from the quarry, the sound of forges ringing faintly in the distance. Jacob calls from above, "William, hold steady down there." You glance up just as he swings a heavy beam into place, guiding it toward the scaffolding post. The rope creaks under the strain, fibers straining like the cords in your neck. "Slow it," you shout. "I've got it," he yells back, smiling wide, one foot braced on the beam. Then, in a moment, it happens. The rope snaps, a scream cuts the air. The beam drops, hitting the planks below with a sound like thunder. The scaffolding trembles. Dust explodes into sunlight. You hear the crash before you see him fall. Jacob hits the stone floor 3 levels down. The sound is sharp, final. Everything stops, even the wind. You're already climbing down before the dust settles, heart hammering, stomach hollow. When you reach him, you don't need a priest to tell you. Master Hu arrives moments later. He kneels beside the body, jaw set hard. "Get a cloth," he orders quietly. "Cover him." No one moves. The workers stand frozen, faces pale, eyes wide. One of them finally fetches a coarse wool blanket. You pull it gently over Jacob's still form. The world narrows to the dark outline beneath the fabric, the trickle of blood running into the dust. Who stands and looks at you? Was the rope inspected? Yes, you manage? Yesterday it was sound. Then today it wasn't. His tone is flat, not cruel, but sharp enough to cut through grief. "It was the heat," you say weakly. "It weakens the fibers." He shakes his head. "It's never one thing. It's 10 small things. A frayed strand, a tired hand, a moment's trust. That's how death finds its cracks." You stare at the blanket. "He was going to be a father." "I know." Hu's voice softens. "And his child will eat because of his work. Every beam he set will hold. Every floor he raised will carry weight long after we're gone. There's no easy comfort, William. But there's meaning." You nod, but the words feel hollow. That night the site falls silent early. The usual laughter, the clatter of mugs, gone. You sit near the edge of the unfinished wall, staring into the darkness. Thomas joins you quietly. "Bad luck," he says, offering you a cup of ale. "It wasn't luck," he nods slowly. "No, it never is." You drink, not for the taste, but for the silence it fills. When you finally rise, you find yourself walking toward the chapel frame, the unfinished skeleton of what will one day hold light through colored glass. The night wind whistles through it. You kneel, not to pray exactly, but to remember. Somewhere out there, Jacob's wife waits, unaware. You'll be the one to tell her. The next morning, the site wakes heavy with sorrow. Work resumes, but voices are low, eyes dull. Every creak of wood sounds like warning. You find Hu by the scaffolding, studying the broken rope. He holds the frayed end to the light, turning it between his fingers. "You see this," he says. "One strand, just one, gave way first. The rest followed." You look closer. The fibers are blackened, brittle. "Pitch from the pulley," Hu explains. "Friction burned through it. Someone missed the sign. Someone like me." He shakes his head. "No, someone under you." And that's what being responsible means. You bear the weight of what others miss. He coils the ruined rope and tosses it aside. "You'll carry this lesson, William. Every master does. It's how we build safer, stronger. We build with memory." You meet his eyes. "What if memory isn't enough?" "Then we build again," he says, wiser. 3 days later, you and Thomas walk the long road to Jacob's village, the wrapped body on a cart behind you. His wife waits by a small cottage with smoke curling from the chimney. She's young, her hands folded over her swollen belly. When she sees the cart, she already knows. There are no words that fit such moments. You tell her the truth anyway, that Jacob died working on something meant to endure, that his name will be carved in the ledgers and spoken with respect. She listens, silent. Then she says quietly, "Then may the stones remember him when we cannot." You nod, they will. As you leave, you glance back once. Smoke drifts upward in a thin gray line, like a prayer dissolving into the morning sky. When you return to the site, the wind hums softly through the half-built walls. The castle stands taller now, but you see Jacob everywhere, in the scaffolds, the beams, the places where laughter once lived. And you understand what Hugh meant. Every stone here is heavy, not because of its weight, but because of who carried it. Autumn slips quietly into winter, and with it comes a stillness that feels almost sacred. The mornings arrive white with frost, the tools stiff with ice, the ground hard as iron. The air smells of stone dust and frozen earth. Each breath steams like smoke from the forge. The work slows. Mortar won't set properly in cold this deep. The lime freezes before it binds. So, Master Hoove orders what he always does when the world turns brittle. We build in other ways. That means repairing tools, shaping stone under cover, studying drawings by candlelight. For most, it's a relief. A few months without climbing icy scaffolds or hauling stone in sleet. For you, it's something else entirely, an apprenticeship reborn. Hook spends more time in the lodge now, and he brings you with him. The drawings that once felt like secrets are suddenly open to your eyes. Vast plans stretching from floor to wall, hundreds of lines weaving into harmony. Every building, he says one afternoon, leaning over a plan, is a frozen song. You can't hear it, but you can feel the rhythm if you listen. You study the arcs of the windows, the precise geometry of the towers. This song feels complicated. It's supposed to. He chuckles softly. Complexity is beauty disciplined. See here, the arch isn't perfect symmetry. It's a fraction off. That's deliberate. Deliberate, yes. The human eye prefers imperfection. It makes the building seem alive. You smile faintly, like people. Exactly. Days blend into each other, snow, silence, and study. You learn to read not just plans, but ideas. How pressure moves through stone. How weight must find its way down, quiet and unseen, through a building like blood through veins. Sometimes, you and Hu share a small pot of all by the fire when the candles burn low. His voice softens when he speaks of his early years, the cathedrals he worked on, the masters who taught him their guarded secrets. I was your age, he says one night, when I built my first apse. I thought I knew everything. Then the vault cracked 3 months later. I learned the only lesson that matters. What's that? That nothing made by men is perfect. We chase perfection, but we never reach it. And that's the beauty of it, the striving. He stares into the fire for a long time. You'll understand one day. You already do, perhaps. You want to ask what he means, but you don't. The question would break the moment. Outside, the castle sleeps under snow. The unfinished walls rise like frozen ribs, their shadows long in the weak winter sun. The valley is quiet but for the distant sound of axes cutting firewood, and the occasional creak of ice shifting on the scaffolds. The men keep to their huts, patching clothes, carving trinkets, or mending boots. Laughter returns slowly, as if thawing from within. Thomas has taken to carving small animals from scrap wood. He gives you one a hawk, wings half spread. For luck, he says. For height. You'll be up there soon enough. You keep it near your bed. One evening, young Watt bursts into the lodge, cheeks red from cold. Master Ho! There's smoke up by the forge. You and Hoove exchange a look. Within minutes, you're outside, boots crunching through the snow. The forge roof is on fire, flames licking the night sky orange and gold. Buckets form a line. Who shouts? The men scramble into action, passing pails from the frozen stream to the blaze. The air fills with sparks and steam. Someone slips, spilling a bucket. The fire hisses but refuses to die. You grab a soaked cloak and run forward, beating the flames back from the timber supports. Heat sears your hands even through the fabric. The world narrows to smoke, light, and the taste of ash. Then, suddenly, it's done. The flames shrink, then vanish. The forge is blackened but still standing. The roof beams sag like tired shoulders, but they hold. Who claps your back, coughing hard? Well done, he rasps. You've saved us weeks of work. Everyone helped, you say, voice hoarse. He shakes his head. You moved first. Leadership isn't a crown you wear. It's a weight you lift when no one else does. His words burn hotter than the fire. That night, As snow falls again, you sit outside the barracks, letting the cold numb your burned hands. The stars are so bright they almost hurt to look at. The half-built castle gleams pale beneath them, its towers like frozen prayers reaching toward heaven. You hear footsteps and glance up. It's Hu, wrapped in his cloak. He sits beside you without a word. For a while, you both watch the snow settle over the stone. I dreamed once, he says quietly, of building something that would outlast me. A fortress so strong it would make men remember my name. And now you ask. Now, he says, I dream of teaching someone who will build better than I ever could. You turn to him, startled. But his gaze stays on the horizon, on the sleeping castle. The silence between you is full of meaning, of understanding, of something almost like love. Not the kind that needs words, but the kind that passes through generations. A craft's inheritance, a life's purpose. When he finally rises, snow dusts his shoulders like old age itself. Get some sleep, William, he says softly. Winter won't last forever. As he walks away, you look back at the dark shape of the forge, the still towers, the white, covered walls. Beneath the snow, the castle dreams with you. And somewhere in the distance, the frozen river groans, a low, living sound, a promise of spring. Spring does not arrive all at once. It comes in whispers. First, the ice on the river cracks. Then, the air shifts, softer, warmer, carrying the faint smell of thawed earth. The snow recedes like a curtain drawing back, revealing the bones of the world beneath. The camp wakes slowly. Men stumble from their huts, rubbing sleep from their eyes, as if they too have been frozen all winter. Fires crackle again, ropes creak, and somewhere a hammer strikes, one clean note that breaks the long silence. Work begins anew. Master Ho gathers everyone before sunrise. His voice is rough with age and cold, but steady as ever. The ground's ours again, he says. No excuses. We raise walls until they touch the clouds. A cheer goes up, half genuine, half wary. You stand beside him, watching faces glow in the first gold light. There's Watt, taller now, his hands thick with caluses. Thomas, laughing like winter never happened. Even the blacksmith, scarred from the forge fire, grins as he stokes new coals. The rhythm of life returns, the song of labor in full measure. Your job now is heavier. Who has begun to step back, letting you take charge of entire sections. It feels strange at first, the way men look to you for direction, waiting on your word before lifting a stone. But the truth is, you've been preparing for this since the trench days. The keep's western wall rises under your command. The blocks are massive, each one heavier than a man. The pulley cranes swing like wooden giants, their ropes whining under load. Every lift is a heartbeat between success and death. You inspect each stone yourself. Too much lime in that mortar. You tell one of the apprentices. Scrape it. Start again. The boy frowns. No one will see it, sir. It's inside the wall. They'll feel it, you reply. A weak heart brings down the body. He hesitates, then nods. Yes, Master William. The title catches you off guard. You almost correct him, but watching from a distance, only smiles. Weeks pass, the days lengthen, the work quickens. By late spring, the castle has changed shape entirely. The great hall begins to take form, its skeletal walls stretching upward, ribbed with scaffolding. Sunlight filters through the open archways where stained glass will one day glow. Hoog spends more time alone now. Sometimes you find him sitting in the drawing lodge, staring at unfinished plans, charcoal still in his hand, but unmoving. Master, you say one afternoon, you haven't been to the wall in days. He looks up, as if returning from somewhere far away. My legs don't like the ladders anymore, he admits, and my eyes prefer memory to detail these days. You kneel beside him. You've built half the kingdom. You've earned rest, he chuckles softly. Rest? The day I rest, William, bury me under the gatehouse so I can watch everyone come and go. The smile fades from his face. When I'm gone, you'll keep it standing. Promise me that you blink. You're not, he raises a hand. Promise me. You hesitate, then nod. I promise. He exhales, relief and sorrow in the same breath. Good. Then my life's work will not end with me. The next weeks are a blur of motion and sunlight. The scaffolds groan with the weight of rising walls. From dawn until the moon lifts, the sight never stops. One evening, you find Thomas sitting on the half-built parapet, his boots dangling high above the courtyard. "She's a beauty, isn't she?" he says. You sit beside him. The view stretches across the valley, the finished towers glowing in the orange light, the river curling below like a silver thread. "She is," you say quietly. Every stone feels alive. He grins. "And you're the one making her breathe." You shake your head. "We all are. The men, the carpenters, the forgers." Maybe he interrupts, "But they follow you now. They say you've got the master's gift." You glance toward the lodge, where whose candle burns faintly in the twilight. "If I do, it's because he gave it to me." A week later, the wind shifts again, heavy with rain. Storm clouds roll in from the west, dark and swollen. You order the men down from the scaffolds, but not everyone listens. Just one more beam, someone shouts above the roar of wind. It's Watt, stubborn, determined, gripping the ropes of a pulley arm. "Leave it," you yell. "It can wait." He shakes his head. "It'll take 5 minutes." The gust hits like a hammer. The rope jerks, the beam swings wide, and Watt's footing slips. You lunge forward, heart leaping to your throat. But this time, you're faster. You grab the rope as it whips past, the fibers burning your palms. The beam smashes into the scaffold, splintering wood and sending a shower of debris. Watt dangles by one hand, eyes wide. "Hold on," you shout. You brace your feet, heave with all you've got. Another man grabs the rope behind you, then another. Together, you haul him back to safety. When he collapses onto the platform, chest heaving, you cuff him lightly on the shoulder. Never argue with the wind. You say, trying to keep your voice steady. He laughs shakily. "I master." "I won't again." That night, the storm passes. The rain taps gently on the roof of your quarters. You can't sleep. The image of Watt dangling from the beam won't leave your mind, nor the echo of your promise to hoe. You step outside. The moon breaks through the clouds, silvering the castle walls. The stones glisten wet and alive, like something breathing. Master Hu stands near the wall, his cloak pulled tight, staring up at the structure, as if memorizing it. You join him in silence. "Beautiful, isn't she?" he murmurs. "Yes," you say. "Almost complete." He nods slowly. "Almost." The moonlight catches in his eyes, tired, proud, and far away. "When these walls are done, they'll stand long after we're dust. The king will call it his fortress. The nobles will call it theirs. But it will always belong to us, William, to the hands that built it." He looks at you one last time, something unspoken passing between you, the kind of thing only shared between teacher and heir. Then he turns and walks back toward the lodge, his steps slow, leaving prints that fill quickly with rainwater. You stand there for a long time, listening to the soft drip of water from the eaves, the creak of wood, the sigh of the valley. You realize that you meant your promise. Whatever happens next, the castle will stand. And so will the memory of those who gave their lives to raise it. Morning breaks with a strange quiet. Not the calm before work, nor the peace of rest, something heavier, slower. The mist rolls low across the valley, hiding the walls of the castle, until they look as if they're floating in air. You wake before dawn, as always, but there's a hollowness to the morning that you can't quite name. When you reach the site, Master Hu isn't there. That in itself is unusual enough to make your chest tighten. His tools, always laid neatly beside the lodge door, are missing too. You find Thomas by the forge, rubbing his hands before the fire. "Have you seen him?" you ask. Thomas shakes his head. "Not since last night. He was in the lodge late, drawing again. Said he couldn't sleep." You turn toward the lodge, a quiet dread creeping up your spine. The door stands half open, letting in a thin line of pale light. Inside, the smell of smoke and ink lingers. The great drawing board is covered in plans, but they're different somehow. Not the castle as it stands, but the castle complete. Towers capped, courtyards paved, the chapel glowing with colored glass. Every line finished, every detail perfect. The master's dream finally whole. And beside it, on the table, lies his compass, folded shut, still warm to the touch. He never leaves his tools behind. You find him outside, sitting at the base of the western wall, back against the stone, cloak pulled tight. His eyes are closed, face turned toward the gray sky. For a moment, you think he's just resting. Then you realize his chest isn't moving. The world goes silent. You kneel beside him, fingers trembling as you reach for his wrist. No pulse. The wind lifts the corner of his cloak like a hand saying goodbye. For a long time, you stay there, unable to move. Around you, the sight wakes hammers, voices, the groan of carts, but it all feels distant, unreal. Finally, you whisper, "You finished it, master." You finished it by noon, word spreads. The men gather in solemn silence, caps held in rough hands, faces gray with dust and grief. Thomas stands beside you, his jaw tight. Watt wipes his eyes with his sleeve. Even Lord Robert, summoned from the manor, removes his gloves and bows his head. You speak because someone has to. He built this place, you say, voice unsteady but clear. Every wall, every tower began in his mind. But he never built for glory. He built for the work itself, for the craft, for us, for what endures. He taught us that every stone carries the hands that set it. And so he's not gone. Not really, he's here. You touch the wall behind you, cool, solid, eternal. A murmur ripples through the crowd. No applause, no cheers, just quiet agreement. The kind that lasts longer than sound. That night, you bury him beneath the gatehouse, just as he once joked. Beneath the arch where every man must pass to enter or leave. You carve his name yourself, Huh of Devon, Master Mason, who built with honor and left no stone untrue. The chisel bites deep, the letters rough and strong. When it's done, you rest your hand on the finished stone and whisper, "I promised, remember." The next days are hard. The sight moves slower, the laughter gone. But the work continues, because it must. Because Hugh would have wanted it to. You find yourself echoing his words without meaning to. Tighter joint there. Check the mortar mix. The line isn't true. The men listen, they obey. They call you Master William now, not out of formality, but because they mean it. At first, it feels wrong, like wearing another man's cloak. Then one morning, you catch yourself drawing in the lodge, redrafting an arch, adjusting a buttress, and your hand moves with the same calm precision who once showed you. The cloak, it seems, fits after all. One evening, as the sun sets red behind the half-finished towers, Lord Robert arrives again. He walks the site quietly, hands clasped behind his back. When he stops beside you, his eyes linger on the rising stone. "It's magnificent," he says at last. "The king will be pleased." You nod. "I hope so." He looks at you. "You're in charge now, I hear." "Yes, my lord." He studies you for a long moment, then smiles faintly. You've the same look he had, eyes full of stone and sky. Dangerous combination. Dangerous, my lord, for men who forget to rest. You don't answer, he sighs. "Carry on, then, Master William. Make sure it stands." You bow slightly. "It will." As he walks away, you look up at the walls glowing in the dying light. The castle stands taller now, not yet finished, but undeniable. The stones catch the sunset like old gold. For a moment, you see Hugh standing there beside you, not as he was, but as memory. His hands folded, his eyes proud. You speak aloud, though the wind steals the words, "Will make you proud, master." Later that night, you walk alone through the silent site. The stars shimmer above the valley, bright as hammered silver. You pass the forge, the stables, the half-built chapel. Every sound, the whisper of wind through the scaffolds, the distant drip of water from the walls, feels alive, as if the castle itself is breathing. You stop at the gatehouse and kneel before his stone. The moonlight touches the carved letters. For the first time, you understand what Hugh meant when he said the strongest parts of any building are the ones no one ever sees. He wasn't just talking about foundations or mortar. He meant this, the invisible hands, the forgotten hearts, the quiet oaths that hold everything together. You stay there until the cold sinks through your knees. When you rise, you touch the stone once more, a silent vow renewed. Tomorrow, you'll lead the men again. The castle will grow. And long after your name is forgotten, long after your hands are dust, the stones will still whisper the truth of who built them. Because legacy, you realize, isn't something you leave behind. It's something you build into the world, one stone, one breath, one heartbeat at a time. By the next summer, the castle stands taller than ever before. Its walls stretch toward the heavens, towers crowned with timber scaffolds that claw at the clouds. The valley below, once raw and wild, now hums with the rhythm of creation, carts creaking, pulleys groaning, the deep percussion of hammers on stone. Word spreads quickly through the countryside, the king is returning. This time, not to inspect foundations, but to see what is gold, and your hands have raised from the earth. The men work as if possessed. Every joint is checked twice, every chisel mark polished smooth. You can feel it in the air, a nervous reverence. The castle itself seems to hold its breath. You walk the walls in the early dawn, hands tracing the cold stone. The battlements curve true, the parapets are even. Huz's lines have held. His design has lived. When the morning mist burns away, the royal entourage appears, a glittering serpent of armor and silk winding up the hill. Trumpets sound, banners snap in the wind, and the king rides at the front on a white horse, the sunlight gleaming off his gilded helm. You and the men kneel as he dismounts. His boots strike the earth, clean and sure. Rise, he commands. You stand heart steady. He looks up at the walls, the rising keep, the gatehouse, the half-finished chapel with its tracery reaching for the sky. His face is unreadable. This, he says at last, is mine. It is, your majesty, you reply. Raised by your will and by Master Ho's design. The king's gaze flicks to you. Master Ho, past this winter, sire, you say quietly, but his work endures. The king studies the walls again, lips pressing thin. It's fine work. Better than I expected from these parts. The men exchange uneasy glances, unsure whether it's praise or insult. He gestures toward the great hall, where the scaffolds climb high into shadow. Show me. You lead him through the echoing space. The light filters down from high slits where stained glass will one day blaze. The air smells of lime, wood, and history not yet written. As he walks, his gloved hand brushes the unfinished walls. Solid, he murmurs. You built on the old Roman method. Yes, sire, you say. Oak piles and grillage. Your Master Ho's idea. The king's voice softens. Smart man. Shame he's gone. He stops near the center of the hall, where a half-finished column rises from the floor like a bone of the earth. He studies it a moment, then turns to you. You were his apprentice, they tell me. I was, sire, and now I lead the work in his stead. The king regards you with an expression that borders on curiosity. You're young. You incline your head. The stone does not care, sire. It only listens to steady hands. A pause, then surprisingly he laughs. A small, sharp sound, but laughter all the same. Well said. He turns toward his entourage. Mark that. The mason speaks better wisdom than half my court. The nobles chuckle uneasily. You bow slightly, unsure if you've crossed a line. But the king steps closer, his tone lowering. How many men have died here? The question catches you off guard. 21, sire, you answer after a moment. From the first trench to the last beam. Each one remembered. He nods slowly. Good. A fortress built without blood rarely stands. The words strike cold in your chest, truth and cruelty entwined. After the inspection, the king walks the ramparts alone with you. The valley stretches below, the river curling silver through fields of green. The breeze lifts his cloak, snapping it like a banner. Tell me, Master William, he says, when it's finished, how long will it last? You glance at the stone beneath your hands. If no man pulls it down, sire. Forever, he smiles faintly. Forever is a dangerous word. Empires fall, kings die, even stone turns to dust. But still, he trails off, gazing toward the horizon. We build as if it matters. It does matter, you say quietly. Even if the castle falls, it will have stood. The king turns his head sharply, studying you. Then he laughs again, this time not sharp, but deep, genuine. You sound like a priest. No, sire, you say, just a mason. He claps a hand on your shoulder, the gesture almost fatherly. Then may your faith in stone outlive mine in men. That night, a feast fills the unfinished great hall. Long tables of oak stretch beneath torchlight, the smell of roast meat and smoke thick in the air. The king sits at the head, flanked by nobles, and raises his goblet high. To the builders, he declares. To those who carve strength from the earth itself. The men cheer, mugs lifted. You remain standing near the wall, watching them, the laughter, the songs, the wariness turn to pride. For once, the air tastes of joy instead of dust. Thomas nudges you. You should drink, master. This is your night too. You smile. No, it's theirs. Later, when the torches burn low and the hall empties, you step outside. The night is cool, the air sharp with the scent of pine and rain. The moon hangs high above the towers, one nearly finished, the other still shrouded in scaffolding. You walk to the gatehouse as you always do. The stone where who rests gleams pale in the moonlight. You kneel, the ground damp beneath your knees. The king came, you whisper. He was pleased, though he'd never say it plain. I wish you'd seen it, master. The walls stood proud, just as you drew them. You rest your palm against the carved letters of his name. The stone feels warm, alive. You were right, you say softly. The strongest parts are the ones no one sees. A breeze stirs, moving through the gatehouse arch like a sigh. You close your eyes and let it pass over you, carrying dust, memory, and something like peace. Tomorrow work begins again. More stones to lift, more walls to raise. The castle isn't finished yet, neither is your promise. And as long as your hands can hold a chisel, neither will fall. The summer after the king's visit brings both pride and peril. The castle has become something alive, every tower breathing, every wall humming with the weight of its own history. Men walk with straighter backs now. They call this place their fortress, as though it already belongs to them. But pride has a way of whispering lies. It begins with a sound, faint, almost nothing, a single crack deep within the western wall. You hear it one morning as you walk the scaffolding, a brittle echo beneath the chorus of hammers. You pause, frowning, pressing your hand against the stone. Nothing, just cold silence. Something wrong, master. Watt calls from above, balancing a bucket of lime. You shake your head. No. Just listening, he laughs. To the wall, you manage a smile. Always. The wall talks before it breaks. He laughs again, but you don't. That evening, when the others have gone, you return to the spot. The sunset bleeds across the valley, staining the walls gold and blood, red. You kneel, running your fingers along the mortar joints. Still firm, still true. But there at the base, where the wall meets the foundation, a faint line, a hairline crack. You chip away a bit of plaster with your chisel. The sound makes your stomach turn. The mortar is soft, damp. Water you exhale slowly. Water is the enemy that waits, always patient, always winning in the end. The western wall sits over the oldest part of the foundation, the trench where the silt was deepest, the one you swore was firmed by the oak grillage. If the wood below has rotted, you push the thought away and call Thomas over. When he kneels beside you, his brow furrows. That wasn't there last week. No, you think the piles gave way. Not yet, you say. But they might. You both stand in silence, the evening wind moving between the half-finished towers. The weight of it, the weight of everything, presses down on you like the stone itself. Thomas breaks the silence. What do we do? You answer without hesitation. We fix it before it speaks louder. At dawn, you order a halt to work on the upper walls. Men grumble, they don't understand why. The king's stewards arrive midday, demanding answers. The wall is settling, you tell them simply. We must strengthen the base. The steward sneers. We paid you to finish, not to start again. You meet his gaze, calm but firm. You paid us to make it last. He storms off to write a report. You don't care. By afternoon, you and a team of 6 begin digging alongside the western foundation. The soil comes up dark and wet, too wet. Each shovel of mud feels heavier than guilt. Then you see it, the first oak pile exposed at the edge, blackened, splintered, half eaten by rot. The grillage beneath the wall is failing. Watt exhales sharply. If that spreads, it won't. You cut him off. Not if we reinforce now. Thomas frowns. How? We can't lift a wall. You glance toward the carpenter's yard. We'll build a cradle. The next 3 days blur into one long battle against the earth itself. Under your direction, the men drive new piles beside the old ones, wedging heavy beams beneath the sinking base. The noise is deafening, the pounding of mallets, the roar of orders shouted over wind and rain. You hardly sleep. At night, you kneel in the mud with a lantern, checking every joint, every timber, every groaning inch of the wall. The flame flickers against your blistered hands. The wall looms above you, a mountain of stone held by faith and desperation. Watt joins you once, his face pale in the lamplight. Master, the men are frightened. So am I, you admit quietly. But we build anyway, he nods. Aye. On the 4th night the storm hits. The sky splits open, rain pouring in sheets. Lightning flashes, turning the valley white for an instant. And in that flash, you see the wall tremble. Not much, but enough to make your heart stop. Brace it, you shout. Now, men rush with beams, wedging them under the sagging section. Thunder shakes the ground. The air smells of wet stone and fear. For hours you fight, hammering, shouting, praying. The rain blinds you, the mud pulls at your boots. But you don't stop. Not until the first pale light of dawn seeps through the storm clouds. When it does, the wall still stands. Barely, but it stands. Thomas leans against a beam, soaked to the bone. It's holding, he gasps. For now, you say, voice hollow. We'll need to replace the whole grillage before winter. He laughs weakly. You never rest, do you? You look up at the massive wall, streaked with water, glistening like a wounded giant. Neither does the stone. A week later, the steward returns, furious. The king hears you've halted progress again. He snaps. He won't pay for delays. You wipe the mud from your hands and look him straight in the eye. Then tell the king his castle almost fell. He stares, speechless. You continue calm but cold. We built this for centuries, not for seasons. If that displeases him, he can hire someone who builds for speed instead of truth. Thomas coughs behind you, half afraid, half amused. The steward leaves, sputtering. You stand in the silence that follows, the wind moving gently through the unfinished hall. For the first time, you feel something you haven't felt since who died, the weight of command settling on you, but also the strength beneath it. This is what it means to be a master, not just to build, but to guard what's already built. That night, you walk the western wall one last time. The new supports gleam dark and strong in the torchlight. The crack is sealed, the stone firm. You whisper into the quiet, not yet old friend. You'll stand a while longer. And in the silence, it almost feels like the wall answers, a faint groan, not of strain, but of acknowledgement. The storm has passed, and the castle breathes again. But you know now what Hugh must have always known. Stone is eternal, yes, but only if men are brave enough to keep it that way. Autumn returns, and with it, a strange calm. The storm that nearly took the western wall has faded into memory, leaving behind a castle stronger than before, and a builder older than he was. You can feel it in your bones. The ache in your hands never fades now. The stiffness in your knees lasts from dawn to dusk. But the work continues, because it must. Because there is still stone to lift, still faith to keep. Every morning, the site wakes with the same sound, the chorus of creation. Chisels bite into limestone, ropes creak, hammers sing. You walk among them like a ghost of your younger self, touching walls, correcting lines, teaching hands that will outlast your own. And always, beneath it all, the castle breathes. You can hear it, a deep, slow rhythm. The settling of weight, the groan of timber, the whisper of wind through unfinished archways. It's alive now. It feels less like something you're building and more like something that's building you. One morning, Watt finds you tracing chalk marks on the half-built chapel wall. "Master," he says, wiping his hands on his tunic, "we're short of cut stone for the apse. The quarry's gone deep. The men say there's water seeping in." You nod. "Then we stop cutting there. Move to the north ridge, the darker layer." He frowns. "That'll take longer." You smile faintly. "Everything worth doing does." He laughs under his breath. "That sounds like something Master Who would have said." You don't correct him. As Watt walks away, you look up at the chapel arch. The lines rise in perfect balance, each curve drawn from geometry Who once taught you, circles within circles, every angle a conversation between earth and heaven. For the first time, you see what he meant all those years ago, that a building is a prayer you never stop whispering. By late autumn, the castle nears completion. The towers reach their full height, the great hall's roof beams lock into place, and the gatehouse stands proud over the valley. Everywhere, people talk of celebration. A grand ceremony when the last stone is laid, a feast to honor the builders. The king has promised to return, this time with gifts and gold. But you find no joy in the talk. Something inside you has shifted. You walk through the castle's shadowed corridors and feel both pride and grief, as if each stone carries a goodbye. Thomas teases you for it. "You'll be famous, William," he says, laughing as you inspect the finished parapet. "The king will knight you, maybe even make you his royal builder." You shake your head. "No. Builders aren't meant to be seen. Only their work is." He chuckles. You really believe that. You look out over the valley. "I have to." A few days later, you stand atop the highest tower. From here, you can see everything: the winding river, the distant forest, the tiny huts of the workers below. The wind bites your face, but you don't care. This is what Hugh saw in his mind, you realize. This view, this peace. The sense that something you made will endure long after breath and blood are gone. Below, the men cheer as the final stone is lifted. It rises slowly, swaying in the wind, the keystone of the chapel arch. Watt guides it in, his hand sure, his voice calm. "Easy now," he calls. A little to the left there, the stone slides into place with a deep, perfect click. The sound echoes through the valley like a heartbeat. The castle is complete. That night, the fires burn high. All flows like the river. Laughter fills the air until even the stones seem to smile. You sit apart from the noise, near the edge of the courtyard, watching the torchlight flicker on the walls. Thomas finds you there. "Come on," he says. "It's your night. The men want you to speak." You shake your head. "I already have." Every word's written in the stone. He sits beside you, quiet for a moment. "You've changed, William. You used to talk about walls and mortar. Now you sound like a monk." You smile. "Maybe I learned what Hugh tried to teach me, that we don't just build castles, we build time itself." He raises his mug. "Then here's to time, and to those mad enough to think they can shape it." You clink cups, and for a moment, everything feels still. As the night deepens, you wander through the silent halls alone. The torches burn low, casting long shadows across the stone. The air is cool and clean. You stop in the chapel. Moonlight pours through the unfinished windows, washing the walls in silver. You stand beneath the arch and whisper a prayer you didn't know you remembered. "Let this place stand," you murmur. "Let it protect, inspire, outlast." The wind stirs, a faint sigh through the high vaults. And in that sound, you almost hear voices: Ho's, Jacob's, all the men who gave their breath and blood to raise these walls. You close your eyes and listen. The castle is speaking again. But this time, it's not warning you. It's thanking you. The next morning, you gather the workers in the courtyard. "This place," you tell them, "belongs to all of you. Every man who lifted a stone, every hand that bled for it. Remember that. The nobles will claim it, the king will name it, but it was born from your work. Don't forget that." Watt steps forward, eyes bright. "We won't, Master." You look at him, the boy from the trench, now a man with steady hands and a craftsman's calm. You see yourself in him, and something like peace settles over you. You press your chisel into his palm. Keep this. You'll need it. He stares at it, then at you. Are you leaving? You nod once. Every builder must move on, or he turns to stone himself. That evening, you pack lightly, a cloak, your compass, and Huz's old plans rolled tight. As you pass through the gatehouse, you rest your hand against his carved stone. Rest well, old friend, you whisper. It's yours as much as mine. You turn toward the road, the setting sun painting the castle in fire and gold. From this distance, it looks almost alive, breathing, watching, eternal. For a moment, you imagine you hear the faint ring of hammers again, the laughter of men long gone. Then the wind takes it, carrying it down the valley, into memory. You walk on. Behind you, the castle stands, complete, silent, and strong. And though you do not look back again, you know what it will whisper to every traveler who sees it rise above the mist, built by hands that believe time could be shaped. The road leaves the valley behind, winding through forests and open fields. You travel with only the sound of your boots and the slow creak of the wind through the trees. The world feels larger now, quieter, older. And yet, everywhere you go, you see echoes of the craft. Villages rebuilding after floods, a bridge mended over a cold river, a church rising where none stood before. Everywhere, men shape the earth, lift stone, seek meaning in the making. You lend your hands where you can. You never stay long, a few months here, a season there. You teach the young to cut true, to listen to the stone. You speak whose words without even realizing it sometimes. Compassion without precision kills faster than cruelty. They remember you not as a master, but as a man who worked beside them. When you leave, they call after you safe road, Master William. You smile and wave, but never turn back. Years pass, seasons blur. You see kingdoms rise and crumble, banners change, but the sound of hammers never dies. The craft endures, your beard turns gray. Your hands, though slower, still know their way along the grain of a chisel, the temper of iron, the whisper of good limestone. In one town, a young mason brings you a piece of stone he can't shape. It breaks no matter how I strike, he says, frustrated. You hold it up to the light, turning it gently. You're hitting it where it's strong. Every stone has a weakness, just like men. You must learn where to strike softly. He frowns, and if I can't find it, you smile. Then you haven't listened long enough. He laughs, and you see a spark, the same one Ho once saw in you. One autumn, word reaches you in a tavern by the sea. A merchant, drunk on ale, speaks of a fortress inland, a place so vast it seems to have grown from the very bones of the earth. The king's great castle, the merchant says, still standing after all these years. The locals call it Who's Keep, though the old masons whisper another name, the builder's castle. You listen in silence, heart steady but heavy. You picture it, the towers still catching dawn light, the chapel arch unbroken, the gatehouse stone where Who lies beneath. It's been 20 years since you last saw it. The merchant laughs. They say it's cursed, you know, no one can tear it down. Every stone they try to move finds its way back. You smile faintly into your cup. That's not a curse, you murmur. That's memory. Winter comes hard and early that year. You take shelter in a small abbey near the coast. The monks there build with care, walls thick, vaults true, the kind of work that endures. They give you a cot by the fire, and in return, you teach them how to lay a perfect arch. God builds through geometry. The abbot says one night, watching you draw on a slate board. You chuckle, so did Ho. Same principle, different employer. The abbot smiles. And which pays better? Neither, you say. But both make eternity feel close. As the years roll on, your travels slow. The hammer grows heavy. The compass trembles in your hands. But still you work small repairs, door lintels, low arches. You don't build for kings anymore. You build for the earth. In a fishing village one spring, a boy asks your name as you help fix a crumbling seawall. William, you tell him. Just William. He squints. My grandfather told stories of a mason by that name. Said he built a castle that touches the clouds. You smile, did he? He nods, he said it still stands. You look toward the horizon. Then maybe it was built well. Years later, decades, perhaps you return. You never meant to, but your feet find the road, and one morning the mist parts. And there it is, the castle, still rising above the valley like a dream you once had and almost forgot. The towers are weathered now. Ivy creeps up the walls. Birds nest in the parapets. But it stands, solid. You walk the familiar path in silence. No one stops you. To the guards, you're just an old man with a limp and a tired smile. Inside the gatehouse, you pause. The stone where who rests is still there, worn smooth by time and hands. The words are faint but readable, who built with honor. You kneel, pressing your palm to it. The stone is cold but steady. I kept my promise, you whisper. She still stands. For a long moment, you listen. Beneath the wind, beneath the distant clatter of the garrison, you hear it, the faint, slow breathing of the walls. The castle still lives. You close your eyes and smile. Good, you say softly. That's all I wanted. As dusk falls, you climb the western tower, the one that nearly fell so many years ago. The stairs are rough beneath your feet, worn by countless boots, but they hold. When you reach the top, the valley spreads out below, painted gold by the setting sun. The river gleams, the fields shimmer. The walls glow as though lit from within. You lean on the parapet, the wind tugging at your cloak. We did it, master, you whisper. You, me, all of us. A raven circles overhead, its cry echoing through the twilight. You take out your compass. Whose compass? The metal dulled by years of use. You place it on the stone beside you and leave it there. The wind carries your breath away. You close your eyes, and for a moment, you can almost hear it again. The sound of chisels, the laughter of men, the heartbeat of stone. And when your eyes finally close for the last time, the castle keeps breathing. Long after, in the years that follow, no one remembers exactly when the old mason died. But the story endures, of the man who built for forever, who spoke to stone and made it listen. They say that on still nights, when the wind passes through the chapel arches, you can hear the faint rhythm of hammer on stone, patient, perfect, eternal. The castle stands, and so does the promise. Centuries pass. The men who once hauled stone and swung hammers are long gone, their names lost to dust and time. The village at the castle's feet has grown, then shrunk, then grown again, generations coming and going like tides. Yet the castle remains. Through wars and winters, through peace and plague, it endures. Its towers rise pale and solemn above the valley, its battlements weathered but unbroken. Storms claw at it, armies march beneath it, kings forget its name, but it never forgets theirs. Inside its walls, the air still hums faintly with the rhythm of those who built it. In the quiet hours before dawn, when the world holds its breath, the castle seems to breathe again, slow, deep, patient. And if you listen carefully, you can still hear the faintest sound, like a heartbeat beneath the stone. In a later age, a scholar comes to study it, a man with ink, stained fingers, and a lantern that burns low. He spends days tracing the old carvings, weeks walking the halls where light bends through cracks in the mortar. He notes how every stone fits too perfectly, how the foundations run deeper than the eye can follow. Impossible, he writes in his journal. No structure from this period should still stand so true. One evening, he discovers a name, carved faintly on the underside of a tower stair, nearly lost to erosion, W. Mason, just that. 2 letters and a word. The scholar copies it into his notes. Perhaps the builder, he writes, unknown otherwise. He never learns more. But the villagers still tell stories. They say the castle was built by men who worked without sleep, whose leader could hear the stone speak. They say he taught the rocks to remember their shape, that even if torn down, they would rebuild themselves by moonlight. Children whisper that on the longest night of winter, if you stand beneath the gatehouse arch, you can hear voices in the wind, not words, but the soft rhythm of chisels and laughter, echoing from centuries past. Old masons visiting from distant towns take off their caps when they pass the valley. To the builder, they murmur. No one remembers which builder. It doesn't matter. The craft remembers for them. On a spring morning many ages later, a restoration crew arrives, modern men with gloves and machines, measuring tapes and steel scaffolds. The chief engineer, a quiet woman named Eleanor, runs her hand over the weathered wall. The surface is cool, smooth, impossibly even. She frowns. There's no subsidence, she says softly. After 800 years, none. The foundation's perfect. Her assistant laughs. Maybe it's luck. She shakes her head. No. This was built by someone who understood time. That night, she stays after the others leave. The sun sets behind the hills, and the valley falls silent. She sits near the gatehouse, notebook open on her knees. For a moment, she thinks she hears something faint, rhythmic, almost musical. Tap. Tap, she turns, but there's no one there. Only the wind moving through the old stone. And yet, as she listens, it grows clearer. The gentle ring of a chisel on limestone, the rasp of breath, the murmured voice of a man teaching someone unseen. Strike true, don't force it. Listen to what it wants to be. The sound fades, carried away into the dark. Eleanor closes her notebook slowly. I hear you, she whispers. In her report months later, she writes one final line the others don't understand. The castle stands not because it was built perfectly, but because it was built with love. Time moves forward. Empires fall again. New cities rise, made of glass and steel. The castle becomes a ruin, then a monument, then a mystery visited by those who seek quiet rather than answers. One night, a storm rolls across the valley, thunder shaking the hills, lightning carving white scars across the sky. The rain lashes against the walls, testing them once more, and still the castle holds. The storm passes, leaving behind silence. The moon climbs through the clouds, silvering every edge of stone. And for a heartbeat, just one, the old walls shimmer, as if glowing from within. If anyone were watching, they might see a figure standing on the western tower, tall, cloaked, hands folded behind his back. His hair the color of snow, his eyes the color of earth, watching, waiting. And if they blinked, he'd be gone. But the air would still hum with his presence. A whisper older than words, we built it well. Centuries fade into centuries. The castle becomes legend, then myth, then just a shape on an old map. But even as names vanish and stones crumble, its spirit endures, carried in every wall ever raised, every arch ever shaped by hands that believed in something lasting. In every mason who lifts a chisel and draws breath before the first strike, that same whisper lives on. Listen to the stone, build with honor, shape time. And somewhere, deep in the heart of the old fortress, beneath the layers of earth and memory, the foundations still rest on oak and faith, silent moving, eternal, waiting for the next builder who dares to believe. The valley is quiet now. The castle stands alone, its towers softened by moss, its stones pale under centuries of weather. The world around it has changed, the forests thinned, the rivers rerouted, the roads paved and forgotten again. But the castle remains, patient as the earth itself. And yet, though time has worn its walls, something endures within them, something unseen, something breathing still. It begins again with a child. A boy from the nearby village wanders up one morning, chasing a wooden hoop that slips from his hand and rolls through the grass. It clatters to a stop beneath the gatehouse arch. When he bends to pick it up, he notices the carvings along the stone, old words almost erased, who built with honor. He traces the letters with his fingers. The stone feels warm. That night, when he returns home, he can't stop thinking about the castle, its silence, its strength. The feeling that it was waiting for him. He dreams of it, of walls that speak, of men in cloaks working by firelight, of a voice calm and low saying, strike true. Listen first. The next morning he returns. Decades pass. The boy grows into a man, then into a builder. He studies under local masons, learns to shape stone, to read the weight of walls, to balance arch and light. But something in him always draws him back to the old fortress, not for fame, but for understanding. He becomes its caretaker. He clears ivy from the gatehouse, patches cracks in the outer wall, and sweeps the chapel floor where moonlight still spills through broken glass. The castle begins to change again, not restored, but awakened. And sometimes, as he works alone at dusk, he feels a presence beside him. Not haunting, but watching, approving. One evening, while repairing a stair in the western tower, his chisel slips and strikes a hollow spot. Curious, he taps again. The sound echoes, deep, resonant. He clears away the plaster and finds something hidden, a small metal compass, tarnished and delicate. Its lid bears faint initials, H.D. He opens it carefully. The needle still moves. He laughs quietly, half in wonder. "You've been waiting a long time, haven't you?" That night, he sets the compass on his worktable and lights a single candle. The flame flickers, throwing long shadows across the stone. Outside, the wind moves through the cracks in the walls, a low, steady breath. For a moment, it almost sounds like words. "You've found it." The man writes letters, journals, sketches, notes about the strange precision of the castle, the perfection of its geometry. Historians visit, curious about his findings. He shows them the compass, the carvings, the old marks on the stairwells. One scholar, gray-haired and skeptical, shakes his head. No builder of that age could have achieved this alignment. The structure faces true east perfectly, as if they built with the stars themselves. The caretaker smiles. Maybe they did. Another younger historian asks, "Do you think there was ever truly a man named Huh?" The caretaker runs his hand along the wall. Names fade, work remains. Seasons turn again. Snow drifts into the courtyards, spring grass grows between the flagstones. Birds nest in the high arches, their songs echoing where prayers once did. The caretaker grows old, slower but no less steady. His hands tremble now, but when he sets his chisel to stone, it still finds the right rhythm, that ancient, patient beat. One summer afternoon, a young apprentice arrives, a girl with curious eyes and quick hands. She watches him repair a crumbling lintel, silent at first, then asks, "How do you know where to strike?" He smiles faintly. "You listen. The stone tells you when it's ready." She frowns. "I don't hear anything." "You will," he says, "in time." As the years pass, she learns. He teaches her the balance of pressure, the language of tools, the art of stillness before motion. She begins to hear it too, that faint whisper beneath the chisel's ring, that secret rhythm older than words. When the old caretaker finally grows too weak to lift his hammer, she continues the work. And on his final day, as he rests in the chapel's shade, she kneels beside him. "You always said the castle would outlive us," she murmurs. He smiles, eyes half closed. "It's not the stone that lives. It's what we put into it." "And what's that?" He exhales softly, almost a sigh. "Faith." Moments later, he's gone, his hand resting against the wall, as if listening one last time. Years later, the girl, now a master builder herself, returns from distant lands. She brings students of her own, eager and bright-eyed. They walk the old halls, study the angles, the joints, the hidden geometry. This, she tells them, was built not to defy time, but to understand it. They nod wide-eyed, taking notes, sketching lines. But one of them, a quiet boy, lingers near the gatehouse, tracing the faded words with his fingers. He smiles, it feels alive. The master builder looks up, it is. And so, the circle closes, not with an ending, but with a return. The castle still stands in the valley, watching centuries drift by like clouds. Each generation finds it, learns from it, adds their own breath to its endless story. Some come as builders, some as dreamers. All leave changed. For the castle was never truly about stone or kings or walls. It was about people who believed that what they made could matter, that time could be shaped by patience, and that even silence could speak if you built it carefully enough. And somewhere, deep beneath the earth, where the oldest foundation stones still hold, a whisper endures, not in words, but in rhythm, strike true. Listen first, built to last, the breath of stone continues. And the builder's promise, eternal. And that's the end of tonight's story. The castle still stands, silent, timeless, breathing through the centuries. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to subscribe and join me again for more stories hidden in the quiet corners of the past. Until next time, sleep well, dream deep, and remember, every stone still whispers